They smiled at her slow breathing. At first, it seemed like a joke. A few soldiers exchanged amused glances, watching Captain Maya Reyes sitting motionless on the dirt floor, her back straight, eyes half closed. "She's meditating again," one whispered with a smirk. Another chuckled. "She does this before every op, calm as a monk." But something about her stillness didn't feel normal. She wasn't relaxed. She was focused. Too focused. Her rifle lay across her knees, untouched for minutes. Her breathing was so slow, it was barely visible. One of the younger soldiers leaned forward, trying to see if she was even awake. "She's breathing once every 10 seconds, he said, eyebrows raised. The smirks faded. It was unnerving, even for veterans. Most soldiers paced or adjusted their gear when they were nervous. Maya sat perfectly still. Her lungs moved like clockwork. Not a twitch. Not a blink. She wasn't praying. She wasn't meditating. She was waiting. Somewhere beyond the hills, someone else was watching. Behind cracked glass and cold metal, a sniper peered through a dusty scope. He had been scanning the brush line for over an hour. Then he saw her. A figure not moving, blurred through branches. The sniper adjusted his focus. He caught her outline, chest rising ever so slightly. Once. Then nothing. 10 seconds later, another faint rise. He stared, then exhaled. "Viper drill," he muttered. It wasn't a guess. It was recognition. He had seen it before. Years ago. Same kind of woman. Same kind of stillness. Most soldiers tried to hide by ducking or crawling. But this was different. This was breathing as a weapon. He watched Maya again. Her eyes didn't scan. Her head didn't tilt. But he knew. She had seen him. Or worse, she had heard him. She was just waiting for the right moment. The sniper didn't move his finger. He didn't blink. He just nodded slightly, as if accepting what he already knew. This wasn't going to be easy. Back near the ravine, the squad started checking their weapons. Quiet murmurs filled the air. Boots shifted. Gloves tightened. But Maya didn't move. Her breath still the same. The younger soldier looked over again and said quietly, "Why does she do that?" No one answered. But Staff Sergeant Keller, the oldest among them, kept his eyes on Maya. He had seen that kind of breathing once before. Years ago, in a dusty Afghan village, pinned down by 2 snipers. A female operator had used the Viper drill to stay alive for nearly 6 hours under direct fire. She didn't even flinch when bullets hit the dirt inches away. Keller watched Maya now, and a chill ran through him. It was the same. That wasn't meditation. That was survival. Suddenly, the wind shifted. Leaves rustled to the east. Maya opened her eyes, slow, steady. She didn't speak, didn't shout. She just adjusted the strap on her rifle and tightened her grip. The smile on Keller's face disappeared. He whispered, "Something's wrong." A distant crack split the air. The sound of a twig, or a boot. No one else heard it. But Maya did, and her next breath wasn't slow. It was deep, prepared, alert. Something was out there, and it was already watching them. The sniper didn't breathe for 5 seconds. Not out of fear, out of calculation. He'd seen the woman move just once. A tiny adjustment to her rifle strap. Not even a full motion. But it was enough. It confirmed what he already suspected. She knew he was there. And now, this wasn't about one bullet anymore. It was a standoff. He lowered his cheek a little tighter against the stock of his rifle, adjusted his aim, then paused again. The other soldiers were still moving, unaware. But not her. The woman with the steady breath. He couldn't see her eyes from this distance, but somehow he could feel them. Focused. Sharp. Waiting. He whispered under his breath, "This is not a recruit." Back at the ravine, Maya hadn't moved again. She had taken that one breath, then returned to complete stillness. She wasn't just hiding. She was baiting, drawing attention away from her team. Every sound in the jungle suddenly mattered. Every bird call, every rustling leaf. She heard something else now. A barely audible metallic rattle. The sound of a rifle sling brushing against body armor. East side. That was the sniper's position. She didn't speak. She didn't signal. She just narrowed her eyes slightly and inhaled through her nose. The Viper drill wasn't just about slow breathing. It was about controlling panic, controlling instinct, and knowing exactly when to move. Her team was now rechecking their formation. Still no idea that a sniper had eyes on them. Still no idea that Maya had already locked in a mental map of the enemy's likely position, elevation, and angle. She'd done it without a drone, without tech, just breath and instinct. Keller glanced at her again. He was picking up on it now. The rhythm of her breathing. The way she hadn't blinked in nearly a minute. Then something clicked. He tapped his earpiece and said quietly, "Squad, hold your movement. Eyes open. Do not speak." The tone in his voice left no room for argument. Everyone froze. Maya didn't react. She was already there. Already locked in. The sniper adjusted his aim again. His finger rested lightly on the trigger. He was looking for a sign. Anything. A twitch. A blink. A wrong movement. But he got nothing. The soldier in his scope was like stone. He shifted his aim slightly, trying to catch another target, one of the ones moving. But they had stopped. All of them. Something was wrong. They shouldn't have stopped. They were about to enter the clearing. He cursed softly. Had she warned them? How? He looked again at the woman. Still motionless. Still breathing slow. He leaned back slightly off the rifle and thought. There were only two explanations. One, this was luck. Two, she had already found him. And she was playing the long game. Suddenly, the brush to his right rustled. He jerked the scope toward the sound. Nothing. A bird flew out, startled. His heart rate ticked up. He returned to the original view. She was gone. No movement. No silhouette. No breath. He blinked, sat up slowly, and scanned the ravine. Nothing. The woman had vanished. Just like a viper before it strikes. Maya didn't disappear. She sank. Into the ground, into the foliage, into silence itself. To the sniper, she had vanished in a blink. But this wasn't magic. It was memory. Her mind wasn't in the jungle anymore. It was back in the desert. A decade earlier. Camp Verona. The training site where dreams were crushed and soldiers were built. It was 113 degrees. No wind. No shade. Dust caked inside her uniform, choking her lungs and cracking her lips. The instructor barked orders under a boiling sun. "You think silence is hiding?" he shouted. Wrong. Silence is control. They weren't allowed to speak, not even breathe loudly. The drill was brutal. 3 hours in prone position. No movement. No reaction. Not even to the fire ants crawling under their sleeves. If they moved, they were sent back to the beginning. Most failed. Maya didn't. She learned to slow her pulse, to breathe once every 10 seconds, to ignore heat, pain, and fear. They called it the Viper drill, a last resort survival tactic, named after the way snakes wait in perfect stillness before striking. It wasn't just about hiding. It was about becoming untouchable, invisible. Some called it madness, but Maya called it peace. And now, 10 years later, that same stillness was saving her squad's life. Back in the jungle, her team stayed frozen. They didn't know where she was. But Keller had a feeling. She was watching. Somewhere close. Somewhere smart. The sniper, meanwhile, scanned his scope in growing frustration. He hadn't missed a target in 6 years. Until now. She had moved, and he hadn't seen it. Not even a flicker. That meant she was trained. Not ordinary infantry. She had gone cold. That kind of discipline only came from one place, elite survival schools. He leaned back, shook out his fingers, and checked his perimeter. Still nothing. He checked his rear. Nothing. Front. Nothing. It was too quiet. Then he saw it. A small leaf. Fluttering. It wasn't the wind. It was pressure. Movement. But not where he expected. Too low. Too controlled. He felt it before he saw it. She had moved sideways, not forward. Not toward him, but around. It made no sense. Unless she wasn't trying to escape. Unless she was trying to flank him. His breathing grew short. This wasn't just a target anymore. It was a threat. A calculated one. And if he was honest with himself, he hadn't felt this unsettled in years. Back at the ravine, Keller tapped his earpiece. "Maya, what's your play?" he whispered. No response. Static. But that was the answer. She was already executing it. The younger soldier whispered, "Where is she?" Keller didn't answer. He wasn't sure if he should be worried or impressed. Somewhere out there, Maya was on the move. And the hunter was about to find out. He was no longer hunting alone. The sniper adjusted his scope again. Still no sign. He knew better than to panic, but his instincts were louder now. Something was off. Too quiet. Too still. He counted the squad again. 5 soldiers. All in the same positions. But the woman, the one who'd vanished, was still missing. He double-checked his surroundings. Checked the trees. The ridgeline. The ground below. Nothing. But the hairs on the back of his neck told him the truth. He was being watched. And not by amateurs. Down in the brush, Maya moved 1 inch at a time. Her body low. Her arms silent. Her rifle hugged tight to her chest. She had circled wide, slow and silent. The Viper drill had done its job. Now came the part no one ever trained you for. The strike. She spotted a trail of disturbed leaves, barely visible. A flattened blade of grass. A spot where the mud had dried unevenly. Most would miss it. Maya didn't. She followed the signs like a tracker from 100 years ago. Eyes calm. Breathing slow again. She could feel him now. Close. She moved through thorns without flinching. Each sound from the trees was sorted in her mind. Wind, birds, insects. Then filtered out. Only one sound mattered. The one she hadn't heard yet. The breath of a man trying not to be found. The sniper was sweating now. He couldn't see her, but he could feel her. His finger hovered above the trigger. He aimed near the ravine again, hoping she'd made a mistake. But she hadn't. His gut twisted. He knew what was happening. She was flanking him. And he'd lost visual. That never happened. He had killed dozens from this exact position. High ground, perfect cover, perfect angle. But this time, something was different. This time, the target was hunting back. Maya spotted it. A broken branch at shoulder height. Snapped, but not fallen. Fresh. She slowed even more. There, through the dense green, she saw the shadow of a rifle barrel. Not moving. Propped steady against a rock. He was in position. Still facing the ravine. Facing away from her. That confirmed it. He had no idea where she was now. But she wasn't ready to fire yet. Not without certainty. She had seen snipers fake decoys before. She crouched, studied the ground again. Footprints. Right foot pressed harder than the left. Limp maybe. Tire tracks. Not fresh. No backup. She looked up again. Saw the shoulder. Then the breath. A single inhale. Slow. Like he was trying to copy the Viper drill himself. But he was too late. She raised her rifle. Did not breathe. Did not blink. Finger resting lightly on the trigger. Stillness returned. She didn't want to fire. She wanted to be sure. Because one sound would give away everything. And this game of silence would be over. Back at the ravine, Keller felt the shift. The air was heavier. Like nature itself was holding its breath. He checked his watch. For minutes had passed since Maya vanished. He tapped his earpiece again. Nothing. Then, faintly, just one word came through. Eyes. He whispered it aloud. The squad raised their weapons. And, in the distance, the forest waited. The sniper finally exhaled. A long, careful breath. His cheek still rested on the stock of his rifle, eyes scanning for movement through the scope. He'd held position too long. His muscles were starting to stiffen, his focus slipping. But he couldn't afford to adjust. She was close. He could feel it in his spine. Not just the sense of being watched, but the weight of it, like something unseen pressing down on his shoulders. He scanned the ravine again. Nothing. Just static trees and unmoving soldiers. But they weren't the target anymore. She was. And she was somewhere behind him. He knew it. He slowly reached down, keeping his eyes in the scope, and unlatched the safety on his sidearm. If she got too close, he'd have one shot at turning the fight. But even that was a gamble. Maya had already taken position, 15 meters out. Slight elevation advantage. Angle locked. She could see the corner of his shoulder, the edge of his gear. The sniper scope still aimed the wrong way. She steadied her rifle, breath controlled. Heartbeat slowed. Her finger touched the trigger, then stopped. Because something was off. He hadn't moved in over a minute. His shoulder muscles were too relaxed. His posture too exposed. It didn't feel right. She adjusted her angle slightly. That's when she saw it. A second barrel. Half buried behind the rock. Unmanned. A decoy. Which meant the sniper wasn't where she thought. Her breath caught for half a second. She twisted just in time. A flash of metal to her left. He was crouched behind a fallen tree, closer than she expected. He had moved. She wasn't the only one playing the long game. He fired first. The round missed by inches, cracking a branch behind her head. Maya rolled instinctively, using the slope to her advantage. Dirt kicked up as a second shot followed, narrowly missing her boot. She didn't panic, didn't shout. She moved low and wide, disappearing again behind the brush. The sniper cursed under his breath. She was fast, faster than he expected. He changed position, trying to get elevation. But she'd already repositioned. From her new spot, Maya caught the glint of his scope through the leaves. He was exposed now, focused on movement, not angles. And that's where he failed. She took the shot. One clean burst. Not to kill, but to warn. The bullet struck the tree inches from his face, splintering bark across his cheek. He ducked, stunned. Not from fear, from confusion. She had him lined up, and didn't take the kill shot. Why? He stayed low, breathing hard, sweat dripping into his eyes. Then he understood. She wanted to flush him out, force him into open ground, where her team could see him, where she'd have backup, where he couldn't hide behind a scope. He wiped the sweat off his brow and muttered, "Smart." Down at the ravine, Keller heard the first shot, then the second. Not panicked, not random, measured. He looked up the ridge, narrowed his eyes. "She's close," he said. The young soldier beside him asked, "Do we move?" Keller shook his head. "Not yet. She's not done." In the trees above, two ghosts danced through the jungle. One breathing slow, one breathing fast. And only one of them had time on their side. The sniper was bleeding. Not from a bullet, from bark. The warning shot had shattered the tree beside his face, spraying splinters across his cheek and neck. Nothing deep, but it stung. And it reminded him that he'd made a mistake. A dangerous one. He wasn't the one controlling the field anymore. She was. He ducked low and moved fast, crawling behind a mound of twisted roots, trying to regain the high ground. His boots sank slightly into the mud. His breath was louder now, hard to control. He forced it down, steadying himself. He had underestimated her. She wasn't just trained. She was experienced. She had fired a shot that could have ended him, and didn't. That was a message. She wanted him to feel the gap between them. He scanned again, trying to spot movement, but the jungle had turned against him. The birds weren't chirping anymore. The breeze had dropped. Even the insects had gone quiet. That's when he realized she wasn't moving quickly. She was waiting again. And he was the one making noise now. In the silence, Maya listened. Every breath she took was timed. In through her nose. Hold. Out through her mouth. 10 seconds at a time. She could hear everything. The snap of a twig under his knee, the grunt he tried to stifle as he shifted his rifle, the sound of fabric dragging across damp leaves. She was above him now. Not by much, but enough. Her eyes scanned the brush. Then she saw it. The glint of his belt buckle through the green. A tiny shine. Barely visible. She didn't raise her rifle yet. Instead, she looked beyond him, searching for a fallback route. There wasn't one. He was boxed in. And whether he knew it or not, he was running out of time. Down at the ravine, Keller's eyes narrowed. He could hear the faint echo of footsteps. Not panicked. Careful. He leaned toward the young soldier beside him and whispered, "She's guiding him." The young man frowned. Guiding. Keller nodded. Right into the open. Up above, the sniper inched forward, unaware that every movement was feeding Maya information. She was building a map in her mind. Foot pressure, direction, speed. He was trying to reach the ridge, but the path curved. And around that curve, there was nothing but open slope. She moved now, quiet as breath. Every step exact. She reached a fallen log and rested her rifle across it. Her eye met the scope. She adjusted it. Wind speed, low. Distance, 70 meters. Target, moving unaware. She didn't smile. Didn't speak. She simply exhaled. Then, waited. The sniper crept forward, still crawling, thinking he was invisible. Then, he crossed the curve. And stopped. There was nothing in front of him. Just empty air. A slope too steep to climb. No cover. He turned slightly to look back. And that's when he felt it. The weight of being seen. He didn't hear the gunshot. He didn't need to. A single round struck the ground 1 inch from his hand. Precision. Not panic. He froze. Lifted his hands slowly. Looked toward the trilene. And finally he saw her. Captain Maya Reyes. Standing upright now, calm and steady. Her rifle still aimed. But she didn't fire again. She didn't need to. He looked at her one more time, eyes narrowed, and gave the slightest nod. Not out of surrender. Out of respect. He had been outmatched. And he knew it. Maya didn't lower her rifle. Not yet. The sniper held his hands in the air, still kneeling, still breathing heavy. His chest rose and fell with the weight of exhaustion, frustration, and the cold realization that he had been outplayed. She studied him. He wasn't reaching for a weapon. He wasn't bluffing. She could see it in his posture. The fight was gone. But she didn't trust silence. Not completely. She stepped forward, slow and deliberate, keeping her sights locked on his chest. 20 paces. 15. 10. He didn't move. Only his eyes followed her now. Calm, steady, and strangely clear. There was no hate in them. No fear. Only recognition. He had been hunting her. And now she stood in front of him. Alive, unshaken, and completely in control. He gave a single nod, then spoke for the first time. "You knew," he said quietly. "From the beginning." Maya didn't answer. She kept moving. He smiled, just a little. Not mockery. Admiration. "I saw the breathing," he added. "And I knew it wasn't normal. Viper drill. You were trained to wait me out." Still, she said nothing. Her silence wasn't cold. It was calculated. Keller's voice crackled faintly in her earpiece. "Maya, you good?" She didn't take her eyes off the sniper. Then finally she responded. Target secured. No further threat. Her voice was calm, even. She lowered her rifle slowly, keeping it in a ready position, but no longer aimed at his heart. The sniper exhaled through his nose, long and tired. "Would have been clean," he said. "That last shot. You had it." Maya looked at him for a moment, then answered, yes. One word. It was enough. He nodded again. She circled him, checking his gear, his belt, his holster. She removed his sidearm and tossed it aside. Unclipped his radio. Took his knife. He didn't resist. He just asked one question. Why didn't you kill me? Maya paused behind him, then replied, you weren't the objective. She secured his hands with cord from her vest. Tight but not cruel. He lowered his head slightly, as if acknowledging a rule he had forgotten. This war's changed, he muttered. Maya responded without hesitation. No, it hasn't. People just stopped listening. They stood there in silence for a moment longer. Then footsteps approached. Keller arrived first, weapon raised, eyes scanning the area. He saw the sniper kneeling, hands bound. Maya standing nearby, calm as ever. He blinked. You got him. Maya gave a simple nod. Keller looked at the sniper, then at her. His voice lowered. He's one of the ghost teams. We've seen their work. Precision strikes. No survivors. Maya replied, not today. Keller smirked. Remind me never to play chess with you. She didn't smile. Didn't need to. The silence spoke for her. Behind them, the rest of the squad emerged. They kept their distance, weapons up, eyes wide. They'd seen the bullet holes. They'd heard the shots. But they hadn't seen the fight. Not really. They hadn't seen what it took to stay alive without pulling the trigger first. As they prepared to escort the sniper down the ridge, Maya looked out at the treeline. The wind had returned. Birds were chirping again. Nature was breathing. And so was she. The team moved cautiously through the jungle, weapons lowered but alert. The captured sniper walked at the center, hands bound, eyes forward. He didn't speak, didn't resist. He just walked. And Maya followed behind him, not as a shadow, but as a reminder. Keller watched her from the side. She hadn't spoken since they left the ridge. No victory speech. No tension release. Just the same slow breathing. The same presence. He stepped closer and said, You all right? Maya gave a slight nod, but her eyes stayed on the trees. Do you think he was alone? Keller asked. No, she said. Think he'll talk? No. Keller sighed, scratching his beard. Then what do we do? We stay ready, Maya replied. Simple. Clear. She didn't look at the sniper. Not again. He had already given her everything she needed to know, through his posture, his hesitation, his silence. Back at the temporary outpost, the team secured the prisoner inside a reinforced tent. 2 guards stood outside. Keller ordered a drone sweep of the surrounding area, just in case. But Maya? She sat alone at the edge of the tree line, on a log, hands resting on her knees, breathing. Not fast, not slow, just steady. Her rifle lay beside her, not out of reach, but no longer gripped like a lifeline. She watched the wind move the leaves, watched the sunlight break through the trees in small patches. And she waited, not for a threat, not for orders, just for her breath to return to normal. Keller walked up behind her, slower this time, respectfully. Never seen anything like that, he said. You walked into sniper range without a word. Maya didn't respond right away. Then she said, That's the only way you get close. Keller nodded. Still, the way you handled him. You could have ended it early. I know, she said. He paused, then asked the question that had been sitting on his mind since the ridge. So why didn't you? Maya looked at the ground for a moment, then answered, Because he didn't panic. Keller raised an eyebrow. That's what saved him. No, Maya said. That's what told me who he was. Keller waited. She continued. He knew what I was doing. The breathing, the pacing. He recognized it. That means he was trained like I was. Maybe same instructors, same drills. Someone taught him to breathe like a viper too. Keller crossed his arms. So you respected him. I understood him. Keller looked back toward the tent. The sniper hadn't made a sound since arriving. I still would have taken a shot, he muttered. Maya looked up at the sky, her voice quiet but certain. Sometimes winning isn't pulling the trigger. It's knowing when not to. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The jungle returned to life around them. Wind brushed the trees. Birds flitted through the branches. Distant sounds of movement carried on the air, but none of it felt dangerous now. Keller finally said, "We'll debrief at 1900. You'll be leading." Maya nodded once. He turned to leave, then stopped. "Captain Reyes," he said. She looked up. He met her eyes. "I've seen a lot of people break under pressure," he said. "You didn't even flinch." Maya offered a faint smile, the first one all day. Then answered, "That's because I stopped flinching a long time ago." Keller chuckled quietly and walked away. Maya stayed seated, breathing. Not for survival this time, but for peace. Because for once, the jungle wasn't watching her. It was listening.